And we're recording.
It's on.
And we're
all
on.
right. Hey, first of all, Astros are ahead 3-2.
Yeah, yep.
Coming home.
They freaking came through in the clutch, man.
I mean to tell you, I wasn't worried, but I was stressed.
Well, could they be 3-2 because of the boobies?
Could be. I thought that was pretty interesting, but apparently, it was weird because I watched the game intently and I never saw them.
I didn't see it either.
No?
The only reason I was made aware of it was because our friend posted the video, and I kept looking at the video going, dude, I was like, where the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I don't see this anywhere. I had to actually go to another video.
Yeah.
Just to see what he was talking about. I was like, oh, I'm looking at the baseball game, trying to figure out, something that's going to be glaringly obvious. It wasn't obvious to me.
So I DVR'd the game. I haven't seen it yet. I watched the game at a friend's house last night, but I DVR'd it, so I'm going to be looking for it tonight. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can find it. I think it's funny is, with all the media censorship and the time delays and all the stuff that's out there, I don't think anybody caught it.
No.
Until they went to Instagram with it.
So when I actually, so I went to look at an alternate video so it could be like obvious what was going on. Then I went back to our friend's original video that he posted to the page. And then I was like, well, I can see why I missed it, because that's not a part of the screen I'm looking at, particularly when a batter's up,
Sure.
So.
Well, yeah, I think I guess these girls have a Instagram. What's it called? Shag Mag?
That's what they said. Shag Mag, because it was like the girls, and I don't really keep track of these.
Yeah, me neither.
These women that are on there, because I don't understand why they're there.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yes, they're pretty, but I mean nowadays with social media, pretty's kind of dime a dozen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, pretty much.
Been there, done that kind of stuff.
Sure. Well, yeah, so we had that event going on, and so my wife and I were out for the weekend.
Yeah.
We went back to East Texas for we had 2 birthday parties for kids under 6 years old.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. A lot of sugar, a lot of kids, a lot of...
That's always a fun combination.
Yeah, and it's Lucy's second trip to the country. We don't really...
Lucy the dog.
Yeah,
yes.
She gets car sick, so we have to kind of be careful with these trips. She's getting better.
So do you have to stop it all along the way?
We had to about 20 minutes before we got there because she started, how they start like frosting at the mouth and stuff. So, but we gave her a Dramamine, which kept her pretty much calm and sleepy. And she did okay. And she got kind of sort of acting sick within 5 minutes of pulling in a driveway. So she actually made it pretty good. But it was fun to watch her run in the country and play with the kids. We had a good time there. So
yeah, that's a lot of room to run over there.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. But, a lot of stuff going on the home front, too. I mean, I woke up to a Twitter saying, hey, good news coming, from the president. And I didn't really have a clue what was going on. And then we found out that, what is his name?
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
Baghdadi got blown away, smoked.
Yeah, they smoked that dude.
It's funny because regardless, this president, no matter what he does, he can turn water to wine, he can walk on water, he can save and heal people, but they're always just going to run this dude into the ground. And it's unfair. It really is, because when military operations they should be behind closed doors. They shouldn't be leaked to the media. They should be abrupt and quick. That way you minimize the exposure to injury or death to anybody on those teams. Except for the target, obviously.
Hello, Congress, are you listening?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have a right to certain things.
Right. I mean, under the executive powers, he has ability to do that.
Yeah,
and
things not to declare war, but to go do a military action. He has 60 days.
Yeah.
Before he has to go get approval from Congress.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
And this was an opportunity that came about from a troop withdrawal. Unfortunately, now that he's done this, you won't be able to play that card but that one time. But it was it was worth the target.
It's the old military flea flicker play. They're waiting for the last guy to get on the boat, and all of a sudden that leader that you look to for helping you blow shit up suddenly turns up dead.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. And I guess from what we read, the only injury was to a dog.
Okay, so that comment there
Yeah.
makes a lot of. There was this guy I follow on Twitter who was, he was a ranger, he was a former special operations and ranger guy, and so now he's quite visible on Twitter for his journalistic endeavors, and everybody he was talking to kept bringing up this dog thing, and I am so far removed from monitoring day to day. Military actions. I didn't understand the reference. Why is everybody talking about this fucking dog?
So
now,
correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, he blew himself up. He blew up, and he took 3 kids. We had 3 people with him when he
this Abu Bakr.
Yeah.
So I don't even know the details.
Yeah. So that's kind of what happened. It was apparently this guy.
So he became a suicide bomber.
Well, maybe inadvertently, and I
Okay.
think that was kind of the deal. Because I saw a funny meme flash across social media this morning. It had CNN tag on the bottom with Don Lemon in the picture in the corner, and it said "President kills father of 3."
Okay, all right.
And I know it's a funny meme, but honestly, with the way the media is today, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that this wouldn't become. Because all you hear now is you hear Schumer and Pelosi pissing and moaning about, well, we weren't consulted on this,
Right.
The problem with that is if you go back in time and you remember when Obama was president and this whole bin Laden thing.
Yeah, because I remember I was at Hood when all that shit went on.
Yeah, so when that all happened, that room was stuffed full of viewers, and some of the criticism is the fact that Mark Bowl and Catherine Bigelow, which are movie producers, had access to a lot of information that they weren't supposed to have access to. And so it come about, they wrote a screenplay and made a movie called Zero Dark 30.
Right.
And this movie was immediately made and put out there prior to an election cycle for Obama's reelection.
Right. Well, and that, like, with their access,
Yeah.
it's one of those deals where you seek forgiveness rather than ask permission. So,
Right.
Anybody can say, well, they weren't supposed to be there anyway. Well, what they've done is already done. So now they just hope you forgive them or forget.
Yeah. And what's funny is a lot of people have resigned from key positions as a result of a Senate inquiry during the time of this happening.
Right.
Because apparently the Senate was investigating inappropriate access to confidential information. And the claim was they were receiving special briefings from the CIA in regard to this activity as far as monitoring, surveillance, and execution of this mission.
Clinton was also
Yes.
in that area, so you never know what kind of favors she.
Well, and then look at where Obama works now. The Obamas are deeply tied into Netflix. They're
They're
huge with that.
Are they producing? Still,
Yeah, they're
I guess
producing.
Okay.
Yeah. They have key roles in that organization. So a lot of stuff that'll come out will have their basically input and take to it.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's interesting because so we have a dilemma here as far as how it's being presented and how it should be received. You have a president that is very effective in what he's doing. He knows what he's doing as far as the leader goes. He executed an operation that wasn't leaked or back channel promoted or anything. I guarantee you're not going to see a movie.
Yeah, there won't be a movie that comes out
if
later
it
on.
is, it'll be written later, but it'll be by somebody that has to do some research. And so you see this happening. But I don't know. There is a different style of leadership between the two, clearly.
But that's going to be with any president.
Exactly. I think though that the bigger question that came out of it was the reason why this movie was made and put out there so quickly, because you have a president receiving a lot of scrutiny about not being pro-military. Or not favoring the military in the way that a leader of the executive office should.
Right.
This is Obama I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because sort of where you think his beliefs are, but yet he goes and makes a movie where he uses that tool. He uses that tool to prop him up, even though he's not really a big military fan, and nor was he ever really somebody that. Okay, I can only speak for myself, but having served in the military when he got elected, being overseas when he was elected, I couldn't go anywhere where somebody wasn't motherfucking him in some way.
Right.
So this whole thing about, saying that the military, I'm sure that there were some people that agreed with him on certain things. But me being an older generation, the people I found that opinion being more common, it was somebody who was closer to my age, somebody who's much younger. They're a little bit more socially conscious, and they kind of Obama's ideology when it comes to like social stuff.
Yeah.
They were like all about it. And I don't fault him for it. It's just, I was raised differently to not that there's anything wrong with it. It just wasn't an integral part of me growing up or in school.
Yeah. I completely understand that. I share the same viewpoint because, it's funny for me anyway. And I know I say it's funny. How many times have I said that now during podcasts? Me and not having a shot glass. Oh my right. God. I find it ironic is what I'll say. So war is never sanitary. I don't care how anybody wants to put it. Even a push button war is not sanitary.
Right.
There's casualties and there's the aftermath. And soldiers don't live with a bloodlust. I mean, they do it to protect others.
Right.
They do it to protect freedoms. They do it to protect rights. The political side of war gets in the way, and we learned that with Vietnam and other wars where that happens. You have a president that clearly understands that things need to end. Everything needs to have an end state. He understands that. And so when you're going after, you have to go after the head of the snake. You can't just allow people that are starting these things just to continue. I mean, the argument about the starting of ISIS. You have to remember the timing of the movie, the heat that the former president was taking over ISIS and supporting Iran with all the money, the Clintons with the uranium deals. There's a lot of back channel shit that has come out that contributes to what could be stuck on a political viewpoint of a certain president on how he supported that region.
Right.
We left a lot of assets there, a lot of hardware there.
Yeah, which is normal when you're exfilling.
But it was now used to fulfill the other side's needs because they were. So we were talking about technology a little bit ago, and so there's organizational technology, organizational skills. There's communication, and there's weapons of warfare technology that all come into play here. And they've rapidly advanced. I mean, that's what we do. We're working on making things better, faster, more efficient, and minimizing human life or loss of human life here.
Right.
And so, you have a style that has changed drastically in, what is it now? 4 years?
For what?
Coming up since, coming up on the 4th year of the Trump administration.
Yes.
So we're accumulating that. So you have the advancement of technology, you have the advancement of communication and intelligence that has taken place that really facilitated the perfect opportunity for this mission that he just pulled off to happen.
Right.
When you look at the embroilment of the starting of the first Gulf War, the second Gulf War, and all the other engagements afterwards, when you protract operations over a period of time, there's such a strain.
Right.
There's such a strain on not just the supply line, the cost, but the people involved in these that are volunteering to go to war,
right, to
serve their country. And I know that you always want to do what you can to give them the best tools and the best opportunity to get their job done and come home. And I really feel like an operation that just happened was exactly ideal, as opposed to somebody trying to save them their reputation on the aforementioned movie and all the stuff that went with it.
Well, what's kind of, and I sometimes I hear this argument, and to me it doesn't make any sense. Is so like for me when because I'm in the veteran military community, so whenever I go to the VA, you have. There's so many generational differences whenever I walk in.
Right.
I'm a veteran of the most recent conflict, and I'll run into people that nowadays I think the oldest now. I doubt.
It's got to be Vietnam era.
I was going to say Vietnam is the most. It will be the most common.
Yeah, because World War II and Korean veterans are now.
I just don't know how often I'll run into like World War II people there. But anyway, so when people talk about what their hardships were then versus now, sometimes you'll hear, well, I can't believe y'all had this, or we didn't have that. I'm like, well, that's technology hadn't evolved to that,
right?
Because I even remember one time when this happened at basic training, and it was kind of a stupid thing to think, but nevertheless, I thought it is when basic training came to an end, the day of graduation. I even had this thought in my head as I wished it had been harder.
Right.
So, but
for what reason though?
Only because I still had gas in the tank. I felt like I couldn't.
Okay.
And that's kind of like it's kind of a foolish way to think, because then you start downplaying all the things that you did accomplish. Because one part you could also say, well, did you really give it all when you went through basic training? But anyway, the evolution of where fighting a war was in the early mid 60s to where we are right now, well, things changed. So 2001, when this whole campaign started of we're going after an unconventional fighting force,
right?
Afghanistan, ISIS, or Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah.
So we were used to hearing. Then it would have been just Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda was.
Well, you had the Republican Guard. You had the Republican Guard in the first one.
But the Republican Guard is your true fighting force.
Right.
They wear a uniform.
They're organized military. Yeah.
So we have.
And then it went unconventional after that.
Yeah. So and that's for us. In the Army, we had a block of instruction that addresses fighting a conventional force, and then you have another block of instruction that you are presented with an unconventional fighting force. The unconventional fighting force is the thing you really had to watch for, because that is the curveball that you never see coming.
Right.
So, when U.S. troops first went over to Afghanistan and Iraq in 2001, 2002, their equipment, their uniforms were this, and then we got presented with obstacles like IEDs, and then we had to figure out how to mitigate. How do we survive an IED? Shaping blast, all that stuff. One of our other friends is kind of heavily involved in that. But it's like the evolution's going to happen whether you see it or not. And
right.
If you're in a generation where technology is in one place and it evolves to something else, and it actually ups the mortality rate. Is that right? When your mortality goes up, you're going to live longer.
Mortality rate is the other way around. You're dying.
Okay, so but whichever one where you're actually extending life that's where you want. You want to be at a point where you survive something that normally people would succumb to.
Well, I think it's an interesting perspective, is for sure, because technology and styles of warfighting should progress, and it has.
Right.
The one interesting thing about the contrast between the arguments against Trump right now on how he handled this was, so during the investigations by the Senate inquiry, it was discovered that basically Bohl and Bigelow were recruiting spies for information.
Recruiting spies within
our government for information. Okay,
so they're pumped. Okay, so
yeah. I mean, they literally have documentation where they bought them jewelry.
So they're looking for loose lips.
Yeah, and that's what they were doing. And so this is the danger when you're charged to protect a country. You want to know everybody in the room, and you want to know you can trust everybody in the room. If you remember the stock videos they showed of Leon Panetta and Clinton and everybody sitting there watching, they could have been watching cartoons for all we know.
Well,
they were supposedly watching this operation in play, and there was a cast of people all around them in this situation room, and you have to wonder. I mean, it's documented: jewelry, trips, meals, all the stuff that they were given.
In this article that I kind of got this from is whoever the author was, did this juxtaposition of, okay, here's Trump versus Trump and his Abu Bakr and Obama and his Osama raid.
Right.
So this guy wants to bring up how different these two leaders are in handling these missions. So, okay, first one was handled in 2011, the other one's 2019. The article brings up the number of people that he had in the room.
Yeah.
And the way that they used that to Obama's favor was the fact that, I'm just going to throw a number out. Let's just say that there's 9 people in the room. So if Obama had 9 people in a room and Trump had 6, and the reason why I say that is, according to the author, the White House supplies photos from a situation room to the inquiring media to say this is what was going on when we did this. Why they have to supply a photo like that at all is beyond me, but they did. So because Obama has 9 people sitting in a room, supposedly the author of the article says that the leader Obama is more open to having differing viewpoints versus the 6 people that Trump. And I was like, well, that's kind of
that's silly.
That's a twisting of information.
So during the what I found kind of interesting in some of the arguments related to what you were talking about was in the Zero Dark 30 incident.
Right.
There was visual torture.
Okay.
So there was waterboarding and beating of captives. Okay. Yeah. And a lot of that is a carryover from the Guantanamo. You know, you have a president that's trying to distance himself from this prior legacy of interrogation of prisoners.
Right. Well, and yes, because you have the argument out there that people say that if you torture somebody long enough, they'll tell you everything that you want to. They'll tell you
what you want
lies just so you'll stop. And I understand that. But
and so it's like I said, it's an ugly thing. It's a difficult thing that should be left to the professional. What ends up happening, you know what I'm saying?
Let the guy with the Louisville Slugger
let him do his job. Because I'm telling you, you can get 10 people in a room. How many times have you said, hey, with a group of 10 people, where do you want to go eat?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it's like, it's a nightmare. So what ends up happening is you're protracting this thing out. But another thing, too, is you don't want to telegraph your play. Why would you do that? I mean, the one thing that frustrated me with Bush was when he said the bombing will begin, boom, you know, and they basically gave a 16-hour head start on when they were going to start bombing Baghdad.
And I guess by doing something like that, I guess you kind of discount what you think your opposition may or may not do because of throwing it. Because from one set of eyes, they could also say that was a very boastful thing to do.
Right.
But if everybody is at some point going to underestimate their enemy.
Sure, and it happens, and that's why you have groups of people advising you, and you have to listen to them.
Right.
What I think is funny is that, and I know I said it again. Sorry,
I thought it was just
that's just me again. Is the people's when people watch military style movies.
Yes.
It's a movie. There's a lot of creative latitude taken in these movies.
Artistic license.
That's exactly the word that I was looking for, but I was still thinking about, isn't it funny?
Yes.
When I choose my favorite, to me, the one that set the standard is going to be the 13 Hours, the Benghazi.
Right.
Because I got to actually listen to those guys speak in person about that engagement.
Right.
Which I thought was impressive. And it was consistent with everything amongst the group of guys, the 3 guys that were telling the story. And it was consistent with the book, and it's consistent with people I know that do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that explain these things.
In some instances, it would be consistent with doctrine.
Yes.
Doctrine of some 3-letter agency, some fighting force, some thought process on how to combat opposition when you're in these different host countries and different cultures that fight different ways. Yeah.
And things are so fluid. I mean, I don't want this to turn into a review of military style movies because that's not what I'm talking about. But I watch them for entertainment. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think they're fun. I know that several podcast groups that we listen to actually do some funny critiquing of military style movies.
Yes,
and one of my favorite movies also is the premiere we all went to was oh good lord, I just went blank with the Ross Patterson movie. And,
yeah.
What was that one again?
Now, are we talking about? God damn it!
I know.
Range 15?
Yeah, Range 15. Yeah, I was messing with you. I just want to see if you remember that. No, Range 15 was a lot of fun. If you really got into it, you saw where they were poking all the holes and everything like that.
Make sure you got your freaking safety belt on.
Oh, that shit was funny. But I do I watched Black Hawk Down the other day.
Right.
Again. But I also watched the documentary about Black Hawk Down that was on the backside of all this.
Right.
I mean, when I watch those movies, I don't, like Saving Private Ryan or whatever it is, I'm a huge historian, so I read a lot of books on history. Mm-hmm. And I always find it almost, Tom Clancy was really probably one of the best at doing his homework the right way.
Yeah.
He was a good storyteller, but he knew and he got enough information to really make these things believable. So you have to pick your way through them. Just enjoy them for movies, though. Don't look at them for anything other than that. Even the political doctrine pieces.
I will say that the storyteller part that you just brought up is, I think, a good storyteller. If he tells a really good story, you are less inclined. He'll steer your attention away from looking for doctrinal stuff and have you pay attention to the story to be entertained, because that's why you came to this movie.
Right.
Is to be entertained, not to pick apart whether somebody got some tactic from an SOP.
Right.
Whether they got it right or not.
Yeah, and that's what makes this this whole argument between Trump and the Obama thing makes it a little uncomfortable for me, because one was to change the perception of a seated president.
Right.
The other one was, now we're not saying anything until this is done. We killed this guy. This monster is off the streets.
And the weird thing about this is, okay, so the timing of this event.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going.
We're leading up to a voting cycle.
Right.
So this article, and this is such mundane shit, but this author of this piece even drills down into, okay, when I brought up the pictures that the author said that was supplied by the White House, okay, both the Obama administration and Trump's, is they look at it as, okay, well, Trump and his people, they're sitting in 3-piece suits around this. Really, if you think about it, it's a table that's probably slightly larger than the one we're sitting at right now.
Right.
With microphones and technology there, so they can monitor through closed circuit TV of the events that are taking place on the ground. And they take this event that happened in 2019 and they overlay it to this Osama event in 2011.
Yeah.
Well, number one is technology has leaped forward 8 years.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that you don't see enough cables there, or you don't see enough people there, just because you can't see people there doesn't mean that you don't have people piped in through some other method watching the event. The fact that somebody's not in a situation room doesn't mean that they're not aware that the event is going on or watching it somewhere else. I don't know that. I'm just, the things that we're trying to pick apart to say that here's why this president is better than that president. These are fucking stupid arguments. And to drill down to their attire. Okay, so the suit this guy brought up for Trump, and the fact that Obama was sitting in probably like a golf shirt. Right. And he was leaned over in his chair paying really close attention to the
acting.
Acting.
It's called acting, folks.
How do you know this scene wasn't fucking set up, even though you say it wasn't?
Right. And you summed it up. Actually, there's not much more I would even be able to add to that, because you're looking at a movie that was made out of it, out of this event.
Yes.
And it was an election vehicle that basically came off the rails for that guy. It really did. It drew a lot of scrutiny, and like everything that happens in the dark, it always ends up coming out in the light on how many people were manipulated. It's with everything. It seems like political. When instead of just doing what's right, okay, people do what will advance their political career, their financial wealth, or their re-election campaign.
Right.
And you saw that with the first one. The second one, with this movie here, or not movie, but this incident right here, is that Trump just went in there swift, silent, and deadly, and they let the military do what they wanted to do and how they needed to do it. So I'm hoping moving forward that when you watch movies, please just don't look at them. I mean, don't look at them as reality, especially the new stuff, because you and I, we're movie junkies.
Right.
And I love, like, I'll watch even the shitty ones like Hurt Locker. You know?
Speaking of which, my
That's
father,
a shitty movie, but I'll watch it.
My father was watching it last night, and I just like, I can't stay in this room when this stupid fucking movie's on.
Yeah. It is. It's the most bizarre movie, but you know what? Maybe somewhere in the world there was a dude like that dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
I'm entertained by the movie.
I am
I'm
too.
just not. I'm not going to drill down into their fucking SOP.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go talk to some freaking. I think that's 21 Echo. I think.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go talk to those. Oh no, that's an engineer. So those guys would actually come out of probably Alabama, probably at Rucker somewhere,
Right.
Redstone. But I'm not going to go and drill down into whether somebody
it's
got
just
something
crazy.
right or not. Are you
Well,
fucking kidding me?
the one I think is funny too is Green Zone.
I like Green Zone.
The best part of that movie was when Matt Damon got his ass beat by that Delta guy. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I was like, boy, he just took his shit and walked away.
the fact that Damon was was a chief warrant officer in that movie. I
know.
No, I know some chief warrant officers that would have fucking kicked your ass and stuffed you in a closet somewhere. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. What's another one? Let's see. Leonardo DiCaprio did one called Body of Lies.
I actually like that movie.
That was a good movie.
That's spook-driven movie there.
Very good movie. I mean, the Russell Crowe character.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm a big Mark Strong fan. He's a pretty good actor. The guy that played Hani in Jordan, the Jordanian defense guy.
It's been so long.
Hani Salam.
Yes.
I actually enjoyed that movie.
That's a really good movie.
You know, and it's funny because, I don't know, I guess it is turning into a review of movies now, but like I said, 13 Hours to me is just by far the gold standard. That to me is the top of the bar for those kind of things.
So I'm trying to think of what the movie was with George Clooney.
Well, George Clooney did one called Peacemaker.
No, not
with him and Nicole Kidman. That was pretty bizarre.
He was a
Solara.
Solara.
Yeah, Solara. Yeah.
I fucking love that movie.
Yeah.
That was a fucking awesome movie.
Yeah, when you go back into movies like that, there's a lot of craft.
Yes.
And there's a lot of tradecraft in there that you get a glimpse of. That's just like the like the Harrison Ford movies that he did, that were based off the Clancy books, Hunt for Red October.
Mm-hmm.
The only one I really liked, I didn't like Patriot Games, and I didn't like any of those, but I really thought Clear and Present Danger was good. Because it give you a look kind of sort of into the narco-terrorism kind of thing going on at the time.
Yes.
During the Iran-Contra stuff.
Because there's the way that the world really works,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the way that the world works according to this storyteller.
Right.
Because this guy's writing a movie or a book, and it's romanticizing some way that, there's a hero or what have you in this book. They don't write that way about how the real world works. Where if you're a CIA case officer for anybody, you're building relationships with somebody, or you're playing kind of cat and mouse with information or some other entity, your counterpart, and you try to stay on top of one another, only without it using the force of firearms, or
right.
It's a smarter game than a fucking gunfight.
Yeah, just blowing shit up. Yeah. You mean, yeah. Well, yeah, you don't want them to all look like Tropic Thunder at the end. But,
oh my god.
But also too, you are getting the screenwriter and the director's take on that situation.
Mm-hmm.
They're inputting. That's their body of work, so they're inputting their viewpoint into this screenplay, and then you're also getting the actor's interpretation of his role in this movie. It's not like, I mean, if everybody went like documentary style, it might be some of the most boring shit on the planet, you know?
But the thing is sometimes life is boring.
It is.
You know, but life is not a fucking gunfight.
Right.
You have to be fucking smarter than that.
Right.
You have to know when, okay, I've exhausted everything in my toolbox to be nonviolent. Now it's time to be fucking violent.
And when you do that, you have to do it swift, fast, and get away because you don't want people to get hurt.
Fuck yeah.
I think I think have we pretty much run through this one, or do you got some more thoughts on this one?
No, I just, you know, vote for whoever you want. You know, if you don't like Trump, fucking find somebody you can get behind. But if you're gonna fucking motherfuck him, at least let it be something that's worthy of, okay, yeah, he's a piece of shit.
No, I agree with you. If you find a candidate, but also remember what a president's job is. Okay, his primary function is to protect the citizens and the borders of this country. So just remember when you do that. And then also, we got a new movie coming out I wanted to talk about.
Really?
Midway. So they're remaking Midway, and they're also doing another movie called 1917. And 1917 is about trench warfare in World War I.
Oh, really?
So this ought to be good because those are, man, that was when war was just nasty.
So,
I mean, a lot of guys got jacked up in World War I, man.
So has somebody done some research, or is this a historical account?
I gotta think it's gonna be along the lines of one of those biographical type movies where they follow a group of guys. I haven't read anything on it,
right?
But it the way the trailers were playing, it kind of looked like that.
Uh-huh.
But what I thought was funny about Midway is that Woody Harrelson is in it, and he's playing.
That ought to be interesting.
He's playing a serious military role. So, if you saw the first movie, Midway, it was a lot of it was done with models. When I was a kid in California, so I lived on base. I lived at Pendleton as a kid, and when my parents got a divorce, we ended up living kind of in North Hollywood for a little bit, back when it was okay to live in North Hollywood. There was huge buildings for movie sets, and a lot of kids I went to school with, their dads were set designers and model makers.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying something about that
so
before.
I mean, these guys had like the coolest stuff at home.
But show and tell must have been pretty good.
It was pretty cool, yeah, because you when you see a battleship in the backyard that was in a movie,
right?
You're like, what? I mean, is this super cool?
This is insane.
It is very cool. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and close it out. But like I said, hopefully we'll get to see November 7th is when Midway comes out. And I'm definitely going to go see it because I want to see how close it is to the epic first movie that was made without technology. This thing has got to be like, it's got to be the coolest thing you'll ever see with all the CG now. Yeah. So anyway, hopefully we'll be able to talk about that one. Sam, it was good visiting with you, man.
Good.